Royal Marines left U.S. troops surrendering halfway through a military exercise last week in California, with one American official blaming too much reading into critical race theory as a reason for defeat. Josh Hawley, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee, lambasted the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. In the wake of the incident, Mr. Hawley accused the U.S. military leadership under Joe Biden's Democrat administration of being too concerned with having soldiers read about critical race theory and white rage, instead of prioritizing warfighting. He said it showed that, while the U.S. continued to have the best soldiers in the world, Democrats were turning the military into a giant social experiment. During Exercise Green Dagger in the California desert at the end of October, Royal Marines forced U.S. troops to ask for a reset halfway through, after the Americans suffered significant simulated casualties. At one point the British kill board showed almost every U.S. asset had been destroyed or rendered inoperable. When the exercise ended, the Royal Marines were in control of over 65% of the area being fought over, having started with less than 20%. Mr. Hawley said U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, had their priorities wrong, and he said China would have been observing the U.S. defeat to the Royal Marines as it contemplates a potential future invasion of Taiwan. Asked what China's reaction to the British triumph would be, Mr. Hawley said, "They're probably wondering why it is that people like General Milley and Secretary Austin spend so much time recommending books on white rage, on critical race theory, and are not more focused on warfighting. Here's my view. We've got the best soldiers, airmen, Marines in the entire world. Our soldiers are amazing warfighters. Let them fight. Train them to fight. Let them do what they do best, and stop using the military as a giant social experiment, which is what the left seems to want." Earlier this year, Gen Milley defended the military offering soldiers instruction on critical race theory and understanding white rage. He told Congress, "I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers of being, quote, woke or something else, because we're studying some theories that are out there." Mr. Hawley said he thought Gen Milley was being pretty darn casual about the threat from China. He said the Pentagon should be prioritizing military readiness for defending Taiwan. The senator said, "We need to get ready to defend right now. This ought to be the priority rather than assigning our troops to read stuff on critical race theory, white rage and white supremacy and all of these other left-wing pursuits." However, there may be a valid reason for the shift in U.S. policy to incorporate the white rage theory into their curriculum. Security and counter-terrorist analysts suggest that far-right ideologies pose the greatest threat to national security in the U.S. Scholars have argued that lone extremists in the U.S. are capable of inflicting dire consequences on the public, and understanding the mindset behind such radicals can both help in the prevention of such acts through intelligence gathering, as well as reacting to live incidents. Several high-profile terrorist incidents and mass shootings have occurred in the U.S., and as the theory of terrorism suggests that maximum publicity for a cause is part of the modus operandi of an attack, violent non-state actors are seeking ever more dramatic and sophisticated methods that will one day require military intervention. For now, the U.S. can console itself that the session with the British Royal Marines was a training exercise, but with tension building fast in the Indo-Pacific region, the pressure is on Mr. Biden and his defense entourage to maintain a peaceful status quo if it is to live up to its role as a hegemonic power.